The frontier planet was called Korra by those who mapped stars, but to Arya it was simply home. The land stretched wide and empty, filled with rocky plains that cracked under sharp winds. The sky was often gray or pale blue, and storms moved fast without warning. Few plants survived there, and the animals that did were strong, quiet, and careful. Life on Korra did not forgive mistakes. Arya lived alone near the edge of the plains, where tall stone ridges rose like broken teeth from the ground. She had built a small shelter between two large rocks, hidden from far sight and protected from the worst winds. It was not comfortable, but it was safe enough. Safety mattered more than comfort. She had learned that lesson early. Arya was not very old, but she had seen enough to know that trust was dangerous. When she was younger, her family had lived with others of their kind in a small group. They shared food, watched the land together, and believed numbers would keep them safe. It did not last. Raiders came from the sky one night, searching for resources. Promises were broken. Strong words meant nothing. Arya survived only because she ran and hid among the rocks while others tried to talk. After that, she never trusted words again. She learned the land instead. She learned how the wind sounded before a storm. She learned which shadows meant shelter and which meant danger. She learned how to move without leaving clear signs and how to watch without being seen. Alone, she lived longer than many groups had. From her high lookout on the ridge, Arya often watched the open plains. Nothing crossed them without reason. When something moved out there, it mattered. That was how she noticed the humans. Their ship came down slowly, controlled and careful, landing far from her shelter. It was smaller than the raider ships she remembered, and it carried no heavy weapons that she could see. Still, Arya did not relax. Outsiders were outsiders no matter how they arrived. She watched as the ship opened and a small group stepped out. They moved in awkward patterns, stopping often to look around or check tools. They were taller than her, with softer shapes and thin coverings that looked weak against the planet's wind. Their voices carried strangely, loud in the open space. Humans. Arya had heard of them before. Travelers spoke of them in mixed tones. Some said humans were clever but fragile. Others said they survived through strange bonds and stubborn will. Arya did not care which was true. To her, they were still outsiders, and outsiders brought danger. The human team began setting up equipment near their ship. Tall poles were raised and flat devices were placed on the ground. Lights blinked. Sounds hummed. Arya frowned. Noise attracted attention, and attention on Korra often meant death. She stayed hidden, watching from the rocks. As hours passed, the humans moved farther from their ship, spreading out across the plains. They pointed at the ground, scanned the air, and spoke excitedly among themselves. Arya shook her head. They acted like the land was empty, like nothing watched them back. They were wrong. Arya knew what lived beyond the ridges and beneath the soil. She knew what hunted by sound and movement. She knew how quickly a careless step could turn into a last one. She expected to see fear soon. Night came faster than the humans seemed ready for. The sky darkened and the wind picked up, carrying cold and distant sounds. The humans gathered closer together, lights glowing around them. Arya noticed how they kept looking outward, as if searching for something they could not name. They felt it too. Arya adjusted her position, settling lower among the rocks. She had no plan to approach them. There was no reason to help. If they survived, they would leave. If they did not, the land would remain as it always had. Still she watched. As darkness deepened, the humans returned to their ship, moving faster now. One of them stopped often, looking back toward the plains. He seemed younger than the others, his movements unsure. Arya noted him without meaning to. He did not walk like a soldier or a hunter. He walked like someone who believed the world would not hurt him without warning. That belief worried her. The group reached the ship, but before they could seal it, a distant sound rolled across the plains. Full, heavy, slow. Arya's body tensed at once. She knew that sound. The humans froze. Their lights swung wildly, cutting thin paths through the dark. They spoke loudly now, fear sharp in their voices. One of them dropped a tool, the noise ringing far too clearly. Arya clenched her hands. They had no idea what they had called. The sound came again, closer this time. The ground seemed to hum beneath it. Whatever moved out there was large, old, and very aware of its place at the top of the food chain. Arya considered leaving. She could retreat deeper into the rocks, seal herself in and wait for the noise to pass. That would be the smart choice. That was how she had survived so long. But she did not move. Her eyes stayed on the humans. They stood together now, pressed close, unsure whether to run or stay. Their ship loomed behind them, half open, systems still powering down. Panic slowed them. Panic always did. Arya felt a strange pull in her chest, something she did not like. It was not fear for herself. It was something else. Something close to memory. She remembered hands pulling her forward when she froze as a child. She remembered a voice telling her to run, even when hope was gone. She remembered trust breaking, but she also remembered how it had once felt before it broke. She shook her head sharply. Feelings were dangerous too. The sound came again, now so close that even Arya could feel its weight through the stone. A shape moved at the edge of the lights, large and low, blending with shadow. The humans cried out. Arya rose slightly from her hiding place, her heart beating fast. She did not know why she stayed. She did not know what she would do if things went wrong. She only knew that she could not look away. From her vantage point, she could see the predator's outline clearly now. It was larger than any human, its body built with thick muscle and heavy limbs. Its eyes reflected light like cold stars. This creature ruled the plains and everything else survived by avoiding it. The humans were very bad at avoiding things. Arya whispered a quiet word in her own language, one that meant farewell. She expected to see chaos next. She expected screaming, running, loss. Instead, the moment stretched. The predator did not rush forward. It stopped, watching the humans with careful stillness. Its head tilted slightly as if listening. The humans froze, too afraid to move, too shocked to understand what was happening. Arya frowned deeply. This was not how it usually went. The creature took one slow step closer, then another. The humans backed toward the ship, breath sharp and uneven. One of them, the younger one Arya had noticed earlier, stumbled. The predator stopped again. Arya's eyes widened. This was wrong. The land did not pause like this. Predators did not hesitate without reason. She leaned forward, every sense focused, her earlier certainty cracking. She had been sure the humans would fail. She had been sure the planet would prove her right. But now, watching the silent space between hunter and hunted, Arya felt something shift. The night held its breath, and for the first time in many cycles, Arya wondered if the story she expected was not the one about to be told. Evan Moore had never planned to be alone on Korra. He was a quiet researcher, more comfortable with data screens and soil samples than with wide-open land. When the human team arrived on the frontier planet, Evan stayed close to the group, listening more than speaking. He followed instructions carefully and checked his equipment twice. He knew this world was not gentle. Still, mistakes happened. Earlier that day, Evan had moved a little farther from the main camp than the others. A strange pattern in the rock had caught his eye, thin lines running in curves that did not match the land around them. He wanted to record it before the light changed. He told himself it would only take a moment. By the time he looked up again, the wind had shifted. Dust rolled across the plains, blurring shapes and sounds. The camp lights were dimmer now, farther away than he expected. Evan turned and walked back the way he thought he had come, but the ground felt unfamiliar under his boots. He stopped and checked his position tool. The signal blinked, weak and unsure. The planet interfered with human systems in ways they did not fully understand yet. Evan frowned, trying to stay calm. "It's fine," he said quietly to himself. "Just keep moving." Night fell faster than he expected. On Korra, sunset did not fade slowly. It dropped. One moment the land was gray and open, the next it was dark and sharp with shadow. The temperature fell with it, cold sliding through his clothes. Evan felt the first edge of fear then. He tried to contact the team, but his signal broke into pieces. Static filled his earpiece. He stopped walking and listened. The plains were not silent. Wind moved over stone. Small creatures shifted beneath the ground. Far away something heavy moved. He swallowed and forced himself to breathe slowly. He did not know that Arya was watching him. From her higher position among the rocks, Arya had seen Evan break away from the group long before night fell. She had followed him at a distance, moving easily across paths he did not notice. She told herself she was only curious. Humans made interesting mistakes. She expected to see panic when the dark came. Humans were known for loud fear. But Evan did not shout or run. He moved slowly, carefully, stopping often to listen. That surprised her. Still, she was certain fear would come. Evan adjusted his pack and turned in a slow circle, trying to find a landmark that made sense. Everything looked the same now. The rocks rose and fell in uneven lines, shadows hiding depth and distance. He felt small in a way he had never felt before. He took another step, then stopped when he heard it. A low sound rolled across the plains, deep and steady. It was not close yet, but it carried weight. Evan's heart jumped. He did not know what made that sound, but his body understood danger before his mind did. Arya froze. She knew that sound better than any map or marker. It belonged to the apex predator of Korra, the creature that ruled the plains by presence alone. It hunted rarely, but when it moved, the land noticed. Arya's first thought was simple. The human would die. She crouched lower, watching Evan through the dark. He stood still now, shoulders tight, eyes wide. His breathing quickened. She could see fear reach him at last, spreading through his body in small, sharp movements. The sound came again, closer this time. Evan turned slowly, trying to see into the dark without making noise. His light trembled in his hand. The beam caught only dust and stone. His thoughts raced. Run. Hide. Call out. He remembered training that said do not run from predators. He also remembered training that said humans did not belong here. Arya watched his confusion with distant interest. She had seen this before. Outsiders always reached this point. The land stripped away confidence and left only instinct. The ground vibrated slightly under Evan's boots. He backed away step by careful step, trying not to trip. His foot caught on a rock and he stumbled, catching himself at the last second. The sound echoed louder than he wanted. The predator responded. A shape moved at the edge of the dark, large and low. Evan's breath caught in his chest. He could not see details yet, only mass and motion. His light shook as he tried to hold it steady. Arya's muscles tensed. She followed the movement with practiced ease. The creature was closer than she liked. Too close. She expected it to rush forward. It did not. The predator stopped, its body outlined by faint light. Its eyes reflected white and sharp. Evan froze completely. He could not run now. He could not hide. All he could do was stand. Fear settled into him fully, heavy and cold. He thought of the camp, of voices and safety, of how far away it all felt. He did not scream. He did not move. Arya noticed that too. The creature tilted its head slightly, watching Evan. It sniffed the air, slow and deep. The wind shifted again, carrying Evan's scent clearly across the plains. Arya whispered a quiet warning to herself. This was the moment. This was when it always happened. But again the predator did not attack. It took one step forward, then stopped. Its tail moved slowly behind it. Its posture was alert, but not aggressive. Evan's knees trembled. He forced himself to stay upright. He lowered his light slightly, remembering something about not shining directly into an animal's eyes. He did not know if it would help, but he had to do something. Arya frowned, confusion breaking through her certainty. This behavior did not fit what she knew. The apex predator did not pause like this. It did not hesitate over lone prey. The creature shifted its weight and moved closer, placing itself between Evan and a dark ridge where other shapes moved. Smaller predators, drawn by sound and fear. Arya's breath caught. The large predator released a low sound, different from before. Not a hunting call. A warning. The smaller shapes vanished into the dark. Evan did not understand what he was seeing, but he felt something change. The pressure in the air eased slightly. The creature was still there, still dangerous, but its focus had shifted outward, away from him. Arya stared in disbelief. The apex predator stood guard. Evan's fear did not vanish, but it changed shape. Confusion mixed with it now. He lowered himself slowly to the ground, careful not to make sudden moves. The predator remained still, watching the darkness instead of him. From her hiding place, Arya felt her long-held beliefs begin to crack. She had trusted nothing and no one for years. She believed strength meant taking or destroying. Yet here, on the open plains, she watched the most dangerous creature on her world choose protection. She did not know why. Evan's breath slowed as he realized he was not being attacked. He stayed where he was, afraid to move, afraid to break whatever fragile balance held the moment together. The night stretched on, cold and silent. Arya stayed hidden, eyes wide, heart pounding. She had followed the human expecting to watch fear and failure. Instead, she was witnessing something she did not have words for yet. The land of Korra had surprised her. And for the first time in many cycles, Arya wondered if being alone had kept her safe, or if it had kept her blind. The creature moved fully out of the shadows at last. Its shape became clear under the thin light of Evan's shaking lamp. It was larger than any land animal Evan had ever seen, its body low and wide, built with thick muscle that moved smoothly under dark skin. Each step it took was slow and controlled, as if the ground itself answered to it. Its head was broad, its eyes bright and alert, reflecting light with a sharp calm that spoke of long dominance. Evan's breath caught in his chest. He had imagined many ways this moment could end, and none of them looked like this. The creature did not rush him. It did not roar or bare its teeth. Instead it walked past him. It stepped directly in front of him. The movement was so unexpected that Evan nearly fell backward. The creature placed itself between him and the open dark plains, its massive body forming a living wall. Its tail moved once, slow and heavy, settling behind it. Then it stopped. It faced outward. Evan realized he was staring at its back. The predator stood tall now, its head raised, its body tense but still. Its attention was no longer on Evan. It watched the darkness beyond, ears turning slightly, listening for movement that Evan could not hear. Evan's heart pounded so hard he felt dizzy. His hands trembled as he slowly lowered the light. Every part of him screamed to run, but his legs refused to move. He felt small and fragile behind the massive creature, like a child hiding behind a mountain. From the rocks above, Arya froze completely. Her body locked in place, muscles tight, eyes wide. She had watched this predator her entire life. She knew its habits, its patterns, its hunger. She had seen it tear through prey without hesitation. She had seen it chase groups apart and leave nothing behind. She had never seen this. The apex predator did not protect. It did not guard. It took what it wanted and moved on. That was the rule of Korra. That was the truth Arya had lived by. And now that truth stood before her, broken. The creature shifted its weight slightly, claws pressing into the stone beneath it. A low sound left its chest, deep and steady. It was not loud, but it carried far. Arya recognized it instantly. A warning. The predator was not warning Evan. It was warning everything else. The plains answered. Far off in the dark, faint sounds faded away. Smaller hunters moved back, retreating from the area. The land grew quiet, as if holding still out of respect or fear. Evan did not understand the meaning of the sound, but he felt its effect. The pressure in the air eased. The sharp edge of danger dulled slightly, though it did not vanish. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. Why? He whispered without meaning to, his voice barely louder than breath. The creature did not turn. It remained where it was, watching the dark. Arya's mind raced. She searched her memory for any story, any old lesson that could explain what she was seeing. There were none. Elders had never spoken of this. Hunters had never warned of it. The apex predator was not a guardian. It was not a partner. It was a force. And yet, here it stood, choosing not to be one. Evan slowly lowered himself to the ground, sitting where he was. His legs felt weak and he did not trust them to hold him. The creature did not react. It allowed the movement, accepting his presence without acknowledgement. Evan hugged his pack close, trying to make himself smaller, quieter. His breathing slowed little by little as he matched the stillness of the moment. He felt tears sting his eyes, not from fear alone, but from the strange relief of being alive when he expected not to be. The predator's ears twitched again. It took one step forward, then another, widening the space between itself and Evan. It was not leaving. It was extending its guard. Arya's hands clenched tightly. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She felt as if she were watching the world turn inside out. Everything she believed about strength and survival was unraveling in front of her eyes. She had trusted nothing because nothing had ever protected her without cost. Now she watched protection given freely. The predator lifted its head higher and released another low sound. This one was shorter, sharper. Arya felt it in her bones. It was not anger. It was command. The land obeyed. The wind shifted, carrying new scents away. Movement in the dark stopped entirely. For a long moment, nothing existed beyond the circle formed by stone, shadow, human, and beast. Evan's thoughts slowed. He studied the creature's back, the way its muscles moved with each breath. He noticed old scars along its side, pale lines against dark skin. This creature had fought many battles. It had survived many nights like this. And yet it stood here, choosing stillness. Evan felt a strange sense of trust begin to form, fragile and uncertain. He did not know why the creature protected him. He did not know how long it would last. But he knew that fighting or fleeing would break it. So he stayed. From above, Arya shifted her weight slightly, careful not to make a sound. She wanted to understand. She wanted to see every detail, to make sense of the impossible. Her eyes moved from the predator to Evan. The human sat quietly, not trying to touch the creature, not trying to command it. He did not raise a weapon. He did not shout. He simply existed behind it, small and calm in a way that surprised her. Most outsiders panicked. They made noise. They ran. Evan did not. The predator turned its head just enough to look back at him. For one frozen second, Arya thought this was the end. She expected teeth, sudden motion, blood. Instead, the creature met Evan's eyes. There was no rage there. The predator turned its head forward again and resumed watching the dark. Arya gasped silently. She felt something shift inside her chest, something tight and old loosening slightly. She had built her life on the idea that the strongest survived alone, that bonds only led to pain. Yet here was the strongest being on her world, standing guard over a fragile outsider. Minutes passed. Then more. The predator did not move. Evan's fear faded into a dull ache of exhaustion. He rested his head against his knees, eyes still open, still watching. He did not sleep. He did not dare. The night deepened, stars appearing faintly through the clouds. Cold settled into the stones, but the creature's presence blocked the worst of the wind. Evan realized distantly that the predator's body shielded him not just from danger, but from the elements too. Arya noticed that as well. Protection layered upon protection. She had never thought of the apex predator as anything but destruction. She had measured safety by distance from it. Now she watched it become shelter. Questions crowded her mind. Had humans changed this creature? Had they broken it? Or had they understood something she never had? The predator shifted slightly and lowered itself into a crouch, still facing outward. It was settling in. The plan to stay. Evan let out a slow breath he did not realize he had been holding. His shoulders sagged. Against all reason, against all experience, he felt safe enough to stay where he was. From the rocks, Arya watched the scene unfold, her certainty gone. The land of Korra had taught her to trust only herself. Tonight, it showed her a truth she had never imagined. That even the apex predator could choose to protect. And that choice, more than teeth or strength, was the most powerful thing she had ever seen. Arya stayed hidden among the rocks as the night slowly eased its grip on the land. The dark sky began to soften, not yet bright but no longer fully black. The predator still stood guard, calm and steady, its massive shape unmoving except for slow breaths. Evan remained seated behind it, quiet and patient. Time passed in a strange stillness that felt heavier than action. Then Evan spoke. His voice was low and gentle, almost lost to the wind. He did not raise his hands. He did not step closer. He simply spoke as if speaking to a friend who already understood him. "It's all right," Evan said softly. "You can rest." Arya's breath caught. She expected the predator to react with anger or warning. Instead, its head tilted slightly. One ear turned back toward Evan, listening. The great creature did not leave its place, but its body relaxed just a little. Evan shifted slowly, careful with every movement. He reached into his pack and removed a small object wrapped in cloth. Arya leaned forward, her heart racing. She expected a weapon or tool. It was neither. It was food. Evan placed it gently on the ground, sliding it forward without standing. He kept his eyes low, his posture open and calm. He spoke again, his voice steady. "You've done enough," he said. "Thank you." The predator looked back at him fully now. Their eyes met. Arya felt a strange tension in her chest, as if the world itself was holding its breath. She had seen hunters stare down beasts before. Those moments always ended in blood. This did not. The predator lowered its head slightly. It did not eat the food. It did not retreat. It simply accepted the offering by presence alone. That was when Arya understood. This was not control. This was not fear. This was trust. Evan did not command the predator. He did not signal or demand. He spoke with respect as one living being to another. The predator responded not because it had to, but because it chose to. Arya felt her thoughts begin to unravel. Everything she had been taught told her this was impossible. Power meant force. Survival meant dominance. Bonds were weak things that broke under pressure. Yet here stood the strongest creature on the planet, choosing loyalty over hunger, protection over instinct. The predator stepped aside at last, just enough to allow Evan space to stand. Evan rose slowly, careful not to rush. He stood beside the creature, not above it, not behind it. Side by side. Arya felt her throat tighten. She had never seen equality between predator and prey, between power and weakness. But this was not that. This was something else entirely. Evan rested one hand lightly against the creature's side. The touch was gentle, brief, and full of care. The predator did not flinch. Its breathing remained calm. Arya realized then that this bond was not new. This was not a moment of chance. This was history. She studied the way Evan moved, the confidence that did not come from strength but from understanding. She saw the way the predator watched him, not with hunger or threat, but awareness. The creature had been raised this way. Not trained. Not broken. Humans, Arya knew, were small and fragile compared to most species on Korra. They lacked natural armor. They lacked claws and fangs. They did not rule by physical power. They survived by something else. Care. Evan knelt again and checked his pack. He spoke softly as he worked, telling the creature simple words, not commands, just sounds filled with calm meaning. The predator listened. It did not need to understand every word. The tone was enough. Arya felt something inside her shift. Her chest felt tight, then strangely light. She had lived her whole life alone, believing that needing others was weakness. She had believed trust was a risk never worth taking. Yet Evan stood here alive because he had trusted. And the predator stood with him because it had been trusted. The sun's first pale light touched the plains. The night hunters were gone. The danger had passed. Evan straightened and gave a small nod to the creature. "You can go," he said. The predator hesitated, then turned away. It did not rush. It did not disappear into the land as it usually did. It walked a short distance, then stopped and looked back once more. Evan raised his hand slightly in farewell. The predator lowered its head and vanished into the rocks. Arya realized she had been holding her breath. She let it out slowly, her hands shaking. She felt as if she had watched a legend come alive, something that would change how stories were told forever. Evan gathered his things and looked around, searching the horizon. He looked tired but calm. He did not act like someone who had nearly died. He acted like someone who had been protected. Arya stepped forward before she could stop herself. A small stone shifted under her foot. Evan turned instantly, alert but not afraid. Their eyes met. Arya froze, unsure what to do. Humans rarely looked at her without fear or hostility. Evan's expression held neither. He simply waited. "You watched," Evan said quietly. It was not an accusation. It was an observation. Arya nodded slowly. "I did," she replied. Evan studied her for a moment, then nodded in return. "Then you know," he said. "Yes," Arya said. Her voice felt strange in her own ears. "I know." She looked at the space where the predator had disappeared. "It listens to you." Evan shook his head. "No," he said gently. "It listens to itself. I just learned how to listen too." Those words struck Arya harder than any weapon. She had spent her life reacting, surviving, fighting the world as it came. She had never thought to listen to it. "Why did it protect you?" she asked. Evan considered the question. "Because once when it was young," he said, "someone protected it." Arya felt her eyes burn. She looked away, blinking fast. Her people did not protect the weak. The land did not protect the careless. She had never been protected without cost. Evan shouldered his pack. "I should return to my group," he said. "They'll be worried." Arya hesitated, then stepped fully into view. The sun touched her skin, warming it. She felt exposed, but she did not retreat. "I will guide you," she said. Evan looked surprised, then smiled. It was a small smile, honest and warm. "Thank you," he said. They walked together across the plains. Arya pointed out safe paths, hidden dangers, places where the ground could collapse. Evan listened carefully, asking questions, never assuming. As they walked, Arya felt her old beliefs fall away one by one. Strength was not loud. Power was not cruel. Survival did not always mean standing alone. Sometimes, survival meant standing together. When they reached the edge of the human camp, Evan stopped. "This is far enough," he said. "You don't have to come closer." Arya nodded. She did not feel the urge to flee. That alone surprised her. "Your kind is different," she said. Evan shrugged lightly. "We try to be," he replied. As he turned to leave, Arya spoke again. "The predator," she said. "It will return to you." Evan smiled. "It already has," he said, touching his chest. Arya watched him walk away, her heart full and uncertain. She had believed strength came from standing alone. Now she knew the truth. Strength came from choosing care over fear. And that choice, once seen, could never be unseen. Arya walked beside Evan as the light of the rising sun spread across the plains. The world looked different in daylight. The sharp shadows faded, and the land seemed calmer, almost gentle. Evan followed her steps closely, trusting her knowledge of the terrain. He did not question her path or rush ahead. That quiet trust stayed with Arya, warm and unfamiliar. They moved at a steady pace. Arya pointed out loose stone, hidden dips, and areas where the ground could give way. Evan listened carefully. Each time she warned him, he nodded and adjusted his steps. He did not laugh or doubt her. He treated her words as valuable. That alone meant more to her than she expected. When they reached a ridge overlooking the human camp, Arya stopped. She felt the old instinct rise in her chest, telling her to turn back, to disappear before she was seen. Humans and her kind had never lived close. Fear stood between them like a wall. Evan noticed her pause. "It's all right," he said gently. "You don't have to come closer." Arya looked at the camp. Humans moved between small structures, talking, working, laughing softly. They looked fragile, exposed under the open sky. Yet they stood there without heavy guards, without walls of steel. She took a breath and stepped forward. "I will go," she said. Evan did not hide his surprise, but he did not question her choice. He simply walked beside her. As they approached, several humans noticed them. Movement slowed. Voices fell quiet. Hands rested near tools, not weapons. Caution filled the air, but not anger. Evan raised one hand in a calm gesture. "She helped me," he said clearly. The humans relaxed slightly, though their eyes stayed alert. A woman with short hair stepped forward. Her name was Sarah. Her gaze moved from Evan to Arya, careful but curious. "You're safe?" Sarah asked Evan. "Yes," he replied. "Because of her." That simple statement shifted something in the group. Sarah nodded once and stepped back, allowing space. No one shouted. No one rushed forward. Arya felt her shoulders loosen. Over the next days, Arya stayed near the edge of the camp. She did not hide, but she did not push herself into their lives either. Humans greeted her politely. Some smiled. Some simply nodded. None tried to force conversation. Trust, she realized, was not demanded here. It was offered. Evan recovered fully from his long night. He returned to his work, studying the land with care. He invited Arya to watch, to ask questions. When she pointed out plants or signs of movement, he listened and took notes. "You see things we don't," he told her once. Arya found herself answering without fear. She explained patterns of wind, the habits of animals, the way the land changed before storms. Evan thanked her every time. No one had ever thanked her for knowledge before. One evening, Arya saw the apex predator at a distance, watching from the rocks. It did not approach the camp. It did not threaten. It simply observed, calm and silent. Evan noticed her gaze. "It checks on us sometimes," he said softly. Arya nodded. She understood now. The bond did not mean constant closeness. It meant respect across distance. As days passed, Arya stopped sleeping with one eye open. She laughed once, surprised by the sound of her own voice. Humans shared food with her, simple meals, warm and filling. They asked about her people, her stories. They listened without judgment. Trust came slowly, but it came. Arya learned that humans argued often but forgave quickly. They failed, then tried again. They protected each other even when it was hard. They protected the land when they could. They protected creatures others feared. They did not conquer the strongest beings. They chose to stand with them. One morning, as Arya prepared to leave and return to her own paths, Evan walked with her to the edge of the plains. "You can come back anytime," he said. Arya believed him. She looked once more at the camp, then at the open land beyond. She felt no pull to run. No need to vanish. "I will," she said. As she walked away, the apex predator appeared briefly on a distant ridge, watching over both worlds. Arya understood then that her life had changed forever. Strength was not domination. Strength was care. And care once given could change everything.